Hi there, welcome to the channel. I'm Cindy Daychuck with Queen Bee Creations. Thanks for tuning in. Today, we have this piece that I bought at a little garage sale at the senior center that my mom attends. So it was part of their fundraising, and I went to see what little treasures I could get to flip. So this was one of them. And it's just kind of like a nice woven wicker basket. You can see I have a bigger one back there. So I'm starting off with the smaller. And again, it's just one of those things that watch for things that are kind of different, that are kind of unique. So I intend to do a floral arrangement in this. Rather than just a wreath, we're going to do something with flowers with this instead. The first thing that I need though is to go grab some paint because I want to soften the brown look a little bit. And we're going to do that very quickly and very easily. All right, I have some white linen paint, and I had a paint key out here. Oh, there it is. Somewhere on my table. So I have some white linen all-in-one paint from DIY. And for something like this, I just like the all-in-one paint because I'm not going to want to have to go over this project and seal it. So I do have like just a rough chip brush. I'm going to dip it into my paint and kind of dab it off on, I just have a little piece of paper towel over there because what I want to do is just drag that brush over my project. So we're just doing some dry brushing here because I don't want it all solid. And if I dry brush it, it's going to highlight that kind of basket weave. It's going to lighten it a little bit, but I still get some of that natural look coming through. So I'm going to dry brush all of this and let it dry before we come back and start doing the flowers. So quick, so easy. All right, I have my little basket all kind of whitewashed. It just really softens the look out a little bit. Now this is going to be easy to create a hanger afterwards, so I don't need to worry about it first because of all the natural holes and the band around it. And really for something like this, you have kind of two options. You can either start from the center out, or we can do something that goes kind of around, almost like in a C. And for this one, we're gonna do kind of the C, right? And what I have, as always, are, look at this bundle of beauties that I got. $4.49 less my 30% seniors discount. You just have to keep an eye out. Like, gorgeous, right? So pretty. And you know, I don't buy enough florals to be able to bring them in wholesale here, and I certainly wouldn't sell enough, and quite honestly, I don't have the room. So for my projects, and I don't use enough, you know, most wholesale places require minimums, and I don't do enough projects to really justify doing that. But I do look for them when I'm thrifting. Somebody else can pay full price for them. Lovely. And look, there's 4 bundles of these already in their colors and everything. So awesome. I have some little, like a little greenery sprig, $2.50 from the dollar store, right? So, yeah, dollar store stuff. And I have some little tea roses that I thought maybe we could add in. These two, $1.50 from the dollar store. And I have these little sprigs. I've already stolen from this one. It's a little shaky, but these as well, in case I need a little bit of height and curving, right? So really, here's what I start with. When I have something that's already in bundles like this, what I want to do is just kind of look and see how they work as is. So if I was to, let's say, attach one there and one spread out, these are wired, so let me spread them out a little bit. And one kind of spread out coming like this. Already you can see I'm starting to get my C. Then if I fit a third one, kind of way back over there, and then I start adding in some greenery, my design is kind of almost virtually done. So for this, what I do have is some thin wire to be able to take them in. Now, I'm not going to want these on these great big heavy fat stems, so I am going to cut all of these apart, and then I'll be laying them in individually. But you know, just grab like the bundle and lay them out on your project and see already that it gives you an idea of what you've got and how far it goes. So with all things, we want to just use a couple of wire cutters, cut them down, and get rid of that guy. And I know that I have the two bundles of these that are virtually identical. I'm thinking virtually identical. So what I am going to do, look at that, so lovely. What I am going to do is cut two of these apart and put them on opposite sides so that I have an idea already, right? And I'm going to want some of these to stick out over the rim so that I go outside of the boundaries of this. But if I keep them on opposite sides, then I don't get confused about what one goes where if I'm trying to balance my design out. Does that make sense? So when you can get things that are already bundled like this for you, it's perfect because they start to do some of the balancing for you, right? Now, the only place that I thought that I might want to consider, well, I do have these little spiky guys. How many is there? There's 6. Is whether I want to add just a little bit of these as a bit of a softener. One, they're kind of in that slightly brushed white color, so it goes with my whitewashing. They are taller, longer, taller, kind of a different shape than what I've already got. So I'm thinking, you know, down here at these ends where I'm kind of spiking this out a little bit, that they would work really well there. So I'm going to do two out there, and then I'm going to reserve 2 to be able to add into my design toward the center so that they look like they belong. If I only had them at the ends, then it wouldn't tie in to the rest of the design. So then what I want to do, I have these 2 that have the leaves. So I'm going to want more of the leaves showing down here. And when we go to attach these, you've got 2 ways to go. You can attach wires onto each of them and wire them through the holes onto the frame, or you could take hot glue and attach them, or you could do both, right? Both works. All right, So that's got that flower attached, which means I'm gonna do something similar up over here. And this is what I like to do first, is just kind of lay them out, play with the design and the look so that I have a bit of an idea of just what the heck I'm doing. I've got these two beautiful big flowers that I might want to have, because then I have the third one over here. So I might want to reserve those big flowers for here. I'm liking that. So if I do that third big flower, and then I have this sort of pinky tone one coming out here, and this guy, and oh, and then you might want to have you down in there. Oh, that's gonna look so nice, guys. Okay, I'm liking that. Let me take a look. Yes, I'm liking that a lot. All right. Then it's time to suck it up. I always get nervous now because once I start attaching them, then I'm committed. Up until then, I'm just arranging. I'm just playing. All right. So we're going to start. You guys go over here because you're staying on that side. We're going to start with our greenery. All right. So what I do have is this really super, super thin wire that I got from the dollar store, and scissors will cut. So I'm just going to cut some of these. I just want to wire down these greenery pieces. So just wrap it around, and then I'm going to pop it through, just two opposite sides. Of the holes. And when I'm done, I'll go back and I'll clean up the wires on the back. I'll cut them down. But you can just see that's going to pop it down into the curve, which is the beauty of the wire versus the hot glue. There's going to be some that I'm going to need to hot glue, but I'm thinking that as much as I can wire them, I will, just so that I kind of keep them down in place. All right, and there's the start. So you can see that we kind of have them going off over the edge a little bit. We've got a little bit of, I didn't pull this one as tight as I would like. There we go. Okay, I think the next ones I'm going to put down are these ones. We've got the flowers with the those extra spikes, and just with the extra little ferns, and I'd kind of like them sitting in around there. So again, I'm just going to take the wire and I'm going to start wiring them in. So I'm going to do a couple on the top and bottom, and then we'll come back, take a look at it, talk a little bit about the composition, and then we'll carry on. One thing that I did, just thought that I'd pop on and show you, because I want these laying down in here, is I wired them together first, and then that way I can kind of control how they're going to sit in my piece. And then I'm just going to see where I can wire them. Here's where we're at so far. It's actually going this way, but you guys are backward and whatever. See, you could always do it the opposite way, but here's the thing is, if, you know, once we're done, you could rotate this, right? But when you go to hang it, it will always look more pleasing to your eye when it forms a letter, a shape that's familiar with you, which is why you'll always have the fullness on the left and the empty space, the white space on the right, so that forms that C, because otherwise it's just gonna look wrong. If it's a backward C, it just looks wrong. Now, if you're dyslexic and that backward C works for you, then you do you, that's okay. But if you're selling this, you're gonna wanna make sure that it's going to work for most people's eye. And that's where the C shape becomes one that kind of a go-to for a lot of people because of that. All right, so these ones now get nestled right up in there. Okay, so I have those two, and then we're gonna start putting our big blooms in the center and cutting apart our next one to see where else we need to start adding in some additional blooms. Now that I have those pieces wired in, the next piece that I want is just this big piece in the middle here. And then I can fill in around that. So I have taken those 3 big blooms and I have cut them down. This is where the hot glue is gonna start to kick in, because I don't want all those big stems. And I am gonna want these in a little trio, kind of nestled up in there. So I'm gonna do the 2 on the bottom first, so that I can get those glued down. There we go. And then that 3rd one, I can pop up in the top where it makes sense. There we go. All right, and then the leaves, we're going to tuck in under in the bottom there so that they can stick out and add a little bit of their color. And that's what you're looking for with this, is just to create some balance, right? That those little leaves give a little bit of, I mean, obviously green, a little bit more depth of color and a little bit more interest to the piece, and they fill in a little towards, fill in a little bit toward the center as well. So they're called filler for a reason. There we go. We'll see about more leaves after. All right. So now what I want to do is to take some of these, you know, we introduced that color earlier, but now we've got to bring that color back in there. And here we can start to tuck flowers in, see how they're going to look, and start playing with that. So we've got these little guys that I haven't used, so I have 4 of them. I still have 4 of my white blooms, and I have 2 more of these big ones that we've put out here. So I'm gonna nestle them in closer and then use the others to fill in and look and see what we've got at that point. And here's our finished floral design. So one of the things that I did, so you'll see we've got the 2 of those whites at either end. Let me kind of drop down a little bit here. And then we tucked the other ones up in here to kind of balance. So it pulled that white in toward the center. I also took some individual leaves and just glued them around the outside, just so that not all the green was just here, that it balanced it out. It kind of filled in those edges a little bit. Nothing major, but just enough. And you'll notice one little peak of green sticking out in between those florals. So it kind of helped make the individual florals just kind of stand out a little bit. It doesn't look like one big floral. You can see three distinct ones, and just because that little bit of green separating them out. I hope that this gave you a bit of an idea of what you could do with just some thrifted finds. I mean, from those 4 bunches that I thrifted of the flowers, I still have these left. So there's enough there to be able to do a small project of some kind. They were beautiful flowers, but you know, $4.50, less 30%. I mean, you can't beat that. $1 for the backing and a little bit of wire and some hot glue, and we're there. So you can't beat those kinds of prices. But again, just keep your eyes out when you're out thrifting. Sometimes the florals are awful. Don't buy those ones. But when you hit a good one, you might not know what the heck you're doing with it yet, but you know you're gonna do something with it. Snag it. Put it aside until the perfect project comes along. And I really like the marriage between the two of these. I think that this is super cute. It's gonna look great hanging up on a door. I will go and clean up these little wires in the back, and I will add a little bit of a hanging wire in the back as well for whoever buys this for their door. Hope you enjoyed this one, guys. I love to see you come along on the journey with me. These are things I'm doing for the shop, so I'm just kind of bringing you along and hopefully giving you a little bit of tips for you to be able to replicate at home. I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Until then, take care.